Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and The Truman Show is better than you remember. This was directed by Peter Weir. It was written by Andrew Niccol, and it starred Jim Carrey, Laura Linney, and Ed Harris, among others. And it was released in 1998. It tells the story of a man named Truman Burbank, played by Carrey. He seems to have pretty much the perfect life. He's got a wife that loves him, played by Laura Linney. He's got a best friend. He lives in a very beautiful island. So, he's got a mom that loves him. What all is the worst that could happen? Well, it turns out, without him knowing it, he's the biggest television star in the world. When he was 3 days old, he was adopted and basically turned into a television star. And The Truman Show is a show that is watched by literally millions of people. It is run by Christoph, played by Ed Harris. And from the time that he could walk, Truman has been monitored every step of the way and watched by the general public. And while in the past, he had not really known that it was a TV show, but had like that feeling inside of, hey, there's something off about all of this. Things start to happen, and then he decides, okay, I think I'm busting out of here. When I say that this movie is better than you remember, I'm not suggesting that this movie was ever bad. Far from it. Everyone I've spoken to about this movie absolutely loves it. I say that it's better than you remember because I believe that The Truman Show is one of the more rewatchable movies of all time. It doesn't matter when you watch it or where you watch it. It's one of those movies that no matter what angle you look at it from, it still holds up, and it gives you a new perspective. I watch this, or try to watch this, at least once a year, and every time I do watch it, it just it sets off something in me to where I think about it, and I just think the best thoughts. I mean, the movie's kind of brain food, for lack of a better word. While the movie is more lighthearted and leaning on inspirational, it wasn't supposed to be like that. In my research, I found that writer Andrew Niccol initially pitched this as more of a, I don't want to say gritty, but darker sci-fi story, and it was supposed to be called The Malcolm Show.
Yes, no, maybe.
No, 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 not that Malcolm. But that would have made that show very interesting. Along the way, though, the darker elements were toned down and more implied than anything else. Many directors were considered to direct this one, including, among others, Tim Burton and Terry Gilliam. Yeah, the Monty Python guy. But it eventually settled on Peter Weir. And it was considered to have Bryan Singer direct it, about a couple years before he directed X-Men. But Weir, because he was the veteran, got the chair. And Andrew Niccol was coming off of one of my personal favorite sci-fi movies, Gattaca, which had released the year prior. Jim Carrey had been pegged to play Truman from day one, but due to conflicts regarding shooting Liar Liar and The Cable Guy, he was really tied up. But Niccol wanted to wait, and so the production waited for Carrey to get free, and so he did. And I'm glad that they waited, because Carrey is one of, if not the best part of the movie. You root for him, and you know that it's a TV show, but he doesn't, and so you're just so rooting for him to get out of it and just put two and two together to get four. It's a great performance, especially when you consider that he fell in love with a girl that was written off the show, and he didn't know about it because they had designs on pitting him with Meryl, played by Laura Linney. So he knows deep down that something's off about his life, but he can't figure out what. It's an entertaining mystery. Speaking of Meryl, let's talk about Laura Lynn, because she's really good here too. She is an actress and is not literally married to Truman, but for the sake of the show, she is. And she actually, they say in a talking head, not before the movie starts, but as the credits go, you kind of see how they feel like this is not their life, but it is their life. It's an entertaining dynamic, and it's explored pretty well. And I also love how Meryl just randomly does these advertisements, because Truman Show doesn't do advertising, but they kind of do. When when she's like, "Oh, by the way, I got this knife," and it's like this Swiss Army-esque knife, but for the kitchen, or is this exotic coffee brand, and it comes completely out of nowhere. It leads to one of my favorite moments in the movie.
Hell does this have to do with anything? Tell me what's happening!
Noah Emmerich is good as Truman's friend, Marlin. I love these names. And then there is Ed Harris playing Christoph. And I think that Christoph is one of the more, if not the most interesting character in the entire movie. Because despite the fact that it is implied that he is not Truman's father, he very much sees Truman kind of like his son. There are many moments where he just looks at Truman and is like, he's kind of proud of him, like a father would be proud of his son. It's a question that is never really given a solid answer, but I kind of like that the movie did that and left it very ambiguous. The movie poses a lot of questions, as Andrew Niccol scripts tend to do, but the big theme around this is free will and how Truman is technically, I guess, being held hostage. I mean, he's adopted by the show, so technically it's all legal, but at the same time, from the day he was born, he was like, "You're going to be a star." So it's the question of free will. It's kind of like something that's posed in the Adjustment Bureau. Do we actually have free will, or do we have the appearance of free will? It even helps that there is a pretty big movement of people who want to end the Truman Show. And it's led by the girl that was written off of the show. And it's the question of, does Truman really want to be there, or just because he's been there his whole life and that's all he knows, why disturb him? It's a question that's posed in The Matrix, where Morpheus says some people are just not ready to be unplugged. At the end of the day, this movie, like I said, the most rewatchable movie, or one of the most rewatchable movies of all time. The acting's great, the cinematography is awesome, the score, funny note, is actually, except for the stuff they used for the movie, but all the music in the TV show itself is royalty free. It's classical music because it's a TV show. Unless they pay for it, they can't get rights to popular songs. That's a very nice touch. And it's a very interesting movie. It's very introspective. It makes you think without boring you to tears. It's a it's a crazy feat, but they pull it off. Especially nowadays with social media and YouTube and how big it all is, this movie demands for a reimagining, not a remake, but a reimagining. Take someone like one of the Paul brothers, not a Paul brother, but someone like the Paul brothers, who have been vlogging their whole life, and that's pretty much their life. That's all they know. But then slowly kind of start to unplug them from it and see what happens. I think it would be fascinating. But what did you all think of The Truman Show? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. And next week is going to be my first I Finally Watched video in quite a while, and it's going to be about Stanley Kubrick's last film, 1999's Eyes Wide Shut. But if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.